Welcome back, everybody. Episode 72, Light Warriors Unleashed podcast. And I am grateful for this guest. I have known her, and you'll hear us talk about it at the beginning of the podcast, for just almost a year now. And I've watched her grow and expand. And we are leaning into the Hindu energy today in connection with Shakti and the dimensions of Shakti. And we talk about embodiment and duality. We really lean into the gender dysmorphia happening in the world right now, and why some of this is showing up because of the disconnection within our own selves, where we're looking outside of ourselves for experiences and for, let's say, admiration, when it's the unity within. And we drop right into divine feminine and divine masculine energies and talking about how that's showing up in the world and what that means inside of our space of spiritual expansion and transcending energies and all the juiciness and wholeness and oneness. And this is a literally jam-packed episode. And I'm just so grateful Natasha jumped on. She runs the House of Shakti. Like, this is her actual MO. Her job and mission in life is to literally channel messages from Shakti in different dimensions of Shakti's energy and bring them into the world for us to pull energy from them, to activate through these deities and through these goddesses, and help us as humans expand back into and remember the potency of the divine feminine within all of us. No matter if you're a man or a woman in gender on this earth, we all have duality within us in both energies. And we dive into this podcast. So I look forward to sharing Natasha with you. And, you'll see in the show notes her juicy bio and her Ayurvedic energy and her yoga energy and, her mechanism in the world and her mission through Shakti in life. And it's just been such a beautiful, beautiful experience to watch this come together. And the honor I have to bring Shakti to you through Natasha today has been a beautiful experience for me too. So with no further ado, episode 72, Light Warriors Unleashed podcast. Okay, Natasha, I'm so excited that we're doing this and that we're having this discussion, because you and I have been in the world together for, it's been a year, I think, since I met you, and we've been floating around. Is that right? It's been a year?
Yeah, almost a year for sure. Yes.
Yeah. And it's been a really cool journey watching you fully step into the dynamics of what you're leaning into to creating in the world. And you and I have had multiple conversations about Shakti, about Hindu goddesses, about embodiment, about all these amazing things that we're going to dive into today. And let's just lead off with, if someone doesn't know about Shakti, and doesn't know about all of her dimensional self, let's give us a summary as to why Shakti, what this is about, how it's linked to the Hindu lineage and whatever else is showing up in connection with that. Because that's probably going to be 20 minutes alone. Never mind.
Yeah. First of all, thank you so much for having me here, Colleen. It's a true honor and a pleasure. And I'm looking forward to our 1-year anniversary.
Yeah, me too. That's so funny. I love it.
Okay. So to get started, Shakti, first of all, Shakti, the divine feminine, the sacred feminine, really just translates to power. It's the power of desire, the power of will, the power of ecstasy, the power of knowledge, the power of doing. And I know that kind of sounds weird when I say doing, because the feminine is all about being. But the thing here about the doing is Shakti, with this power of doing, is all about creation. It's funny because we are in the House of Shakti doing the Hindu goddess Bhuvaneshwari. And Bhuvaneshwari is the goddess of infinite possibilities, of creation, of all creation, of reality, of dissolving, and everything comes back into her. And part of her story is the fact that she comes upon Brahma, Vishnu, and Shiva, and she has them all come to her. And they're like, okay, something's about to go down here. Brahma's like, okay, she's making a point here. And the thing is that the gods, the trinity of the gods, bow down to the feminine, bow down to the ultimate creation, even though masculine has this essence of creation, maintaining or preserving and destroying. The feminine is all about creation, is the main source of creation, you could say. And within that story, it just makes me chuckle that the Trinity bow down to her as this ultimate goddess of creation, this power of creation. And Shakti herself comes in thousands, like her, basically Shakti comes in many thousands of forms, but within House of Shakti, I work with the main 11, the
So
main
tell us
11
about
forms
Shakti.
that,
Like, yeah, tell us about like who is Shakti in the Hindu lineage? Like, who is she? Like, when and like tell us a little bit more about that because there's probably people that have no idea about Shakti, and I am not connected to the Hindu lineage, although I do tap into Kali Ma and Durga and Lakshmi, which are dimensions of Shakti. But I didn't know that they were until I started really leaning into this and actually meeting with you. And you were like, blah, 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 Shakti. I was like, who the fuck is Shakti? You know, like I've like no clue. So tell us about who Shakti, go ahead and give us that info about who Shakti is.
yeah, thank you. Shakti is the sacred feminine, the divine feminine that sits upon the same space as the divine masculine, which within the Hindu lineage is Shiva. So Shiva and Shakti, they are the pair that sort of, I don't want to say rule the world, but it's not, but it's about bringing in, just like in Chinese philosophy, the yin and the yang, it's the duality of having both the feminine and the masculine. And it's within this divine and sacred form that they appear. So Shakti herself is the feminine form of all the goddesses.
Yeah.
She is like, if you look at a tree, Maha Shakti is at the root. She is the trunk of the tree, and all the branches are all the goddesses that are the forms of Shakti. Is
Love.
that what you're kind of looking for?
Yes, this is exactly what I was looking for. This is perfect. Yeah, this is
Yeah.
perfect. So she has this duality, obviously, and not duality, more so she has this all-encompassing energies that she shows up in different ways into the world, which is what you were just talking about. Dhumavati and like I mentioned, Kali and Durga, they're all dimensional parts of Shakti's source energy. Is that correct?
Yeah.
Yeah, cool.
Shakti comes out in the many forms of the different goddesses.
Right.
And like I said, there are thousands of names, thousands of forms of Shakti herself, because she takes in these different forms to bring in the different energetics of each
Mhm.
of the sacred feminine herself. So we have the more warrior-like goddesses, like you had already mentioned, Durga, Kali, Chinnamasta, those warrior goddesses that really come in with this courage and boldness. And within the mythology, they were the ones that were slaying the demons and, bringing in this liberation and freedom and transformation. And their boldness, there's courage, they, within their weapons, they have, swords and arrows and, like they're very strong women. And then we have the other side, and that is the gentler goddesses, and they all have those aspects of compassion and love. But the gentle goddesses, instead of standing, even though they could sever a head off of a demon or, for us as a human form, it would be more of the, I guess you want to say, the inner demons, like our trauma and our those things, those obstacles that are keeping us from our true self, of knowing our true nature, of knowing self. And I go little quotations as self.
Yeah, yeah.
uh, so it's all about stepping into this duality. I know we've talked about this before, but this duality of not just the feminine and the masculine, but within the feminine and the masculine themselves, they have this duality within them.
Right.
Right. So they
Yeah.
have this, not just the light and the shadow,
Yeah.
but they're also the light and the dark.
Right.
And the dark in this sense is not necessarily like a negative essence. It's more of that very powerful, courageous essence. The warrior goddesses hold a lot of that dark energy. You think of Kali. I mean, even her
Mhm.
presence, she's dark.
Yeah.
Chinnamasta is dark. Like their skin is blue and black. Like they're dark goddesses.
Yeah.
Uh, and it's interesting because the way they all work is we have those warrior goddesses that are very much powerful, courageous, they kind of ask questions later, sever a head first kind of thing.
Yeah. And I wonder
And then
why
you
I'm
have the
inclined to
gentler.
use their energies, like I wonder,
Yes, yes.
hmm.
Yeah. And then like I said, you've got those gentler goddesses, Lakshmi, Lalita, you got Sita, Radha, they're all these goddesses of love and compassion, but abundance. But there's more to that. There's this ecstasy and sensuality with them, and part of their fight. And it when I say fight, they simply withdraw. So
Mm.
instead of severing a head, they simply just withdraw. Like
Yeah.
Sita's story, when she is so disrespected and dishonored by the masculine over and over, and she's just this devoted, loving goddess coming out and, is having to prove her loyalty over and over again. She just simply goes back into the earth. She simply withdraws. She calls upon the earth and says, "Take me home."
Yeah.
And she just simply withdraws. The same thing with Lakshmi. If we don't, keep our home clean, because that's one of the things Lakshmi loves is like, cleanliness and orderness. And it's how can you bring in more abundance if there's clutter everywhere? It makes
Right.
sense, right?
Yeah.
And there's this essence of generosity with these gentler goddesses. And when we continue, it's sort of like if we keep asking God to win the lottery, but we never play the lottery.
Right.
Do you know,
Yeah.
what I'm saying? It's sort of like, well, I can't help you.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right. And if so, and in essence, if we don't honor them, they just simply withdraw.
Right.
They just simply withdraw. And it's sad because the feminine itself, Shakti herself, has that aspect where she'll simply withdraw. If she's not, and we've seen that in the world right now. We've
Mhm.
seen this in the world where she's missing.
Right.
And now there's more of this current, I'm going to say, arising, awakening of bringing more of the feminine. I mean, you look over all over social media and everyone's kind of speaking about this divine feminine and sacred feminine and bringing the feminine back into the world. And it's this reawakening that we need. We need the feminine as much as we need the masculine. This isn't masculine bashing by any means, because
No.
we need the structure. We need the
Safety too, right?
determination, and we need that structure of the masculine to sort of keep us on the straight and narrow.
Yeah. Yeah.
But we don't need the rigid structure. We need that adaptable ability to flow with that structure.
Hmm.
And it's funny because one of my mentors told me this great story. And it's like, okay, so you're driving down the road, and yes, there's lines on the road that keep you where you need to be.
Yeah.
However, there's an accident up ahead.
Yeah.
And, like, so you don't get into the accident. Do you stay in the lines or do you go off to the side so that you don't cause more of an accident? Like, that's what I mean. There's rules, but sometimes we have to adapt those rules in order
Yeah.
to be safe, in order to evolve, in order to continue our journey forward and not get that in that place of stagnation or get stuck.
Yeah, it's definitely true. We're like, as I have spoken about, and if this is like the first time you're listening to this podcast, you may not have known this about me, but I used to be very like more regimented in the line strategies, accountability, goal setting, and very masculine driven inside of the business model that I played in. And then one day I was like, I'm not doing this anymore. And I went all into flow with no structure, floated around for a while, did some things over here, and then came out realizing that both of them are important in the way that I show up in the world. And that's the same thing as the duality within all of us. But we have lost, I feel, a lot of that. Well, we haven't lost it now. It's coming back, just like you had said. But it's like that intuitive connection within us and being able to work within a structure that can hold us, whether that is a strong masculine energy in our life, like as a partner, or that is inside of us holding the masculine while we embody the feminine and move it through. And it's possible to do both. And it's possible to hold all of these dimensions. And it is a thing, like Shakti and Sita coming together in unity. It's not like they're separate, right? Yeah, they look like they're separate in an entity when they come out and show you who they are, or in scripture, or in the way that they're depicted in the world, but technically they're one energy. They're an entity together. Just being able to separate those energies. Is that true? And am I in alignment with what you were saying?
Absolutely. So Shakti takes these many forms because
Right.
of the energetics. If she holds all of these, can you imagine one goddess that holds all of these energies? It's no different than from the other cultures like Greek and
Mm,
Roman. Like they have
yeah.
many different gods and goddesses that make up this pantheon of this of their energy and the essence that they bring out into the world.
Right.
So it's no different from the Hindu or Chinese, like, or Oriental goddesses and gods. They're there to, I feel that they're there to direct us on our path with the energetics that they give in order to bring this unity
Mm-hmm.
not only to the world and to us, but like a unity in this place of allness,
Right.
of being whole again.
Yeah.
This unity of bringing our mind, our soul, our physical body, and our emotions together in this unified kind of oneness. And it's the same as bringing that same unity out in the world and then connecting us with the world. So there's this
Mm.
unification of within us, there's this unification out in the world, and then there's this unification of all three, or of, like us, the world, and everything. So it's like
Yeah.
this continual trinity of things that are going on. And the more we can bring, and again, this is my belief, the more that we can bring this unification, the more we are going to get to this place of really stepping into our freedom and liberation of our truth, of knowing our true nature, of knowing our self. And when I say self, again, I'm going capital S. I'm
Yeah.
going into self, and however word you want to put that, as soul, spirit, higher self, God, whatever word you want to put there, that's what I'm talking about. It's that true essence within.
Yeah. Yeah. And as you know, being in my world for almost a year, that's my MO. It's like how do I get people coming back into their truth and really feeling this and embodying this and moving it through? And I am more inclined to be in Egyptian lineage. I have a really deep rooted connection with Isis. I almost claim that I might be her incarnated some days, depending on my mood. Because some days I'm like, fuck you, like, and other days I'm like, fine, like, so inside this space. And as you can tell, this is my podcast. I'm very vocal. I just do whatever I want on here. And this is kind of like my blog form of my life. Like I just and be into this space. But you are, when we started working together, like we really discovered inside of you this calling to bring Shakti into the world in the way that you're doing it through the House of Shakti, through the content you're starting to really move within in the world. And you are with her consistently on a daily basis, let's just say, bringing in her embodiment into play inside of your life and inside of the work that you're doing in the world. And I'd love to just hear about, because obviously I don't have a reference point other than what you've already taught me in life through the vision of what is coming through you with Shakti. Like what is she desiring right now for people to feel and understand? Like when you're connecting to her, she's giving you messages and context of how to serve humanity through her energy. I would love to just hear about what that is and what that is looking like through the lens of you as the human tapping in and channeling her message into the world. What is that?
Oh, that is such a good question. Such a good question. And I'll be honest, sometimes I don't actually know.
I know. And that's
Because
okay.
it's about bringing this bringing back the qualities that are missing in the world. And those qualities are from the feminine.
Mm-hmm.
And to realize that as within us and within the world around us, there is these cycles that we're always going through. And those cycles of, just as within the masculine, there's those cycles of creation, preserving, or I like to call sustainability, and then destroying or dissolving.
Mm.
And within the feminine realm, I'm going to say, within that feminine energetics, it's a little bit different than the masculine.
Mm-hmm.
Like the masculine is very direct. You want electricity? There's the wire, turn on the light.
Right.
But if you don't have that feminine energy, you're missing the electricity itself.
Mm. I get you. Yep.
Right? If you like you have this river that's running down in the banks and everything, but the energy that the river flows through is the feminine.
Mm.
So and I know I'm taking two very different scenarios, but that's all within us.
Right.
And the reason why this is coming very kind of scattered probably is because within us, we have, like, I always bring it back to some of the roots that I know, the roots of yoga, the roots of Ayurveda, which is no different than bringing in this essence of Shakti and the reincarnation of the many goddesses. Is this essence that's within us holds this capacity to be able to continue to move forward and evolve into this alchemy of, and I go back to that unity. And we can't have unity if we don't have the feminine.
Right. Yeah.
You can't go through life just in the masculine. And when we look at the world, we can see how crazy it is.
Yeah.
Like, first of all, nature itself, and I probably might get blasted for this, but you said this is open, so I'm just going to go with the flow here.
Bars.
The fact is, science proves, and I'm saying science.
Yeah.
There is masculine and feminine. There is male and female. That's it.
Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah.
There's nothing else.
Yeah.
That is for creation, procreation. That's what holds. Yeah. There's nothing in between.
Yeah.
Now, can we have more feminine? Can we have more masculine? Absolutely. But we run into this problem where we're not going to be bringing in the unity of our truth. Because the truth is we have both, and we have to have them both in this balanced place. If we don't have both in this balanced place, we're missing those key energetics, that key qualities within that allows us to move forward into that space of transformation, to move into that place of transcendence. That's the better word, transcendence, because without the duality of the two, you can't acknowledge.
Yeah.
You can't go through life not acknowledging the duality of the two, or duality of light and shadow, masculine, feminine, right or wrong, whatever words you want to put. You can't go through life and evolve to the transcendence, to freedom and liberation, until you recognize that they're both.
Yeah.
You need both.
Yeah.
And our world is so chaotic in this mess because they're confused. And why are they confused? Because they're holding on to one or the other.
Yeah.
And when we hold on to one, it just doesn't allow us to have clarity. It doesn't allow us to bring in this unification. It doesn't allow us to be unified as a whole being.
I'm like, okay, where do I want to go with this? Because I could take us into this mechanism of, like, part of me feels like some of this gender disassociation that's happening in the world, which you've so eloquently brought up in the way that you position this inside of a context of conversation, is that sometimes I feel like there tapping into past lives where they were embodied, let's say, in a very masculine driven energy. And this life, they come into a feminine to learn about all the other things that they're meant to maneuver. But the timeline gap right now is tapped too much into this, and they are trying to pull it without understanding that they've chosen this physical form as this woman in this moment, in this experience, to move through that feminine energy and bring it up, but also to use the masculine within as like the holder and the capacity of it all. Like it's like, and I don't know how to bring this forth in another concept and way, because each person is going to be different and each soul's having their own experience and all this dimensional stuff. But I really feel like based in the conversation that you've just brought forth in this context is all and everyone has both dualities within. And our objective, and although we've picked a gender in this life to embody, like us, both of us as females in this world, in this energetic capacity, for whatever reason we chose it, you know, maybe our last life actually was a woman too. And so I know that for sure. In my last life, I was in the 70s, I died of a drug overdose. That was a really fun time going back into that past life. Because for those of you that don't know, in past lives, you drop back into the bodies most of the time. So I dropped back into a body that was high on some kind of drug. And it was like, I was like, holy fuck, where the hell am I? You know, like, yeah, that was a really amazing life to drop into, and the learnings that I had to bring forth from that. Yeah, good times. Anyhow, I digress. But moving through into this energy of like, when I am out of alignment, I am highly functioning in my masculine, not honoring my feminine. But when I'm running from the world, I move solely into feminine and not embodying my masculine at all. And when I finally surrendered into the space to bring both together and understand these parts, not just the like masculine, feminine, but also that light and dark energy that you were talking about and the duality that we've had conversations about, and bringing all of it together. Now, granted, I'm a work in progress, just like everyone. And I think we always will be on the journey of earth experience, because if we're done learning, then we're probably done with our time here. So in that concept, but it's like, I had to really look at who am I? And it doesn't mean that I, sexually am just a woman. I could potentially want to be with another woman or be with a man or be with both or whatever that means. We're talking about energetics, here today inside this conversation of like fully embodying and becoming whole. So I don't know where you want to go with what I just mentioned, if there's anything that's coming up in your context. And then I definitely have another question in connection with Shakti's messages that I want to bring forth, that you mentioned at the beginning that I want to dive deeper into. But what do you have to say about my shit show I just landed on you?
Well, I I think this is just one shit show after the other, as that comment went. That, and like I said, it's not that like if you're gay or lesbian or whatever, it's a bigger picture. I think we're looking at it through very kind of rose-colored glasses in a sense, and that may not be the right word.
Yeah.
We're looking at it very kind of in a blinded kind of like blinders on.
Yeah.
And we're seeing it has to be this way or that way. And what I'm trying to say is that we can express the feminine and we can express the masculine.
Yeah.
And we can go and we can be a female or we can be a male.
Yeah.
But the point that is that we have both of them within.
Yeah.
And we don't necessarily need to change who we are in order to express that.
Yes. Thank you. That was great.
We don't physically need to change who we are in order to express that.
Mm-hmm.
You can identify as a woman within, but it's about the energy within. It's not about necessarily changing who you are.
Yes.
It's about, and I think this is when I said the confusion is happening, is that there's this rise, awakening of feminine power.
Mm-hmm.
And remember, I said Shakti is basically refers to power.
Yeah.
Right. And hey, I've watched RuPaul's Drag Race. We loved it. It's great. And some of those guys are more beautiful women than I am. Like, and that's okay. Like, go for it. But the thing that I always find really interesting is that when they bring in, like on the makeover one, they bring in straight people or,
Yeah.
a gay, lesbian, whatever, it doesn't matter. They bring in people who aren't necessarily in drag and they dress them up
Yeah.
into their drag. And it's incredible. The same thing comes out of their mouths over and over and over again.
Yeah.
And that is how powerful they feel.
Mm,
If Shakti refers to power, that right there is saying something.
right.
So, in the context of what I was saying about the whole gender
Yeah.
thing, is why is it? So the question is why is it as human beings we have to go so far
Yeah.
off the deep end to be able to get into the energy, into the qualities of being feminine?
Yeah.
Dressing up as a female
Mm,
does not mean that you are tapping into the energy of what a female or the feminine is.
right.
Just like dressing up as a man
Yeah.
does not necessarily tap you into the actual energy of what it is to be a man or the masculine.
Right.
There's that, as you had mentioned, there's this energy that holds this. And yes, dressing up as one may give you a taste of it, but the thing is it's already within you. You don't need to go that
Yeah.
far to get into it.
Yeah.
You know what you need? You need to sit in stillness. You need
Mm,
to be with yourself
yeah. Yeah.
to discover it. Dressing up and putting stuff on does not allow you to tap into that. It just drives a deeper wedge into the unity of finding the truth of who you are.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. It's super powerful. And I love that we went here. This is great. This is so good. And I want to tap into this because this is perfect. So you mentioned stillness, which is definitely a key in all the things I talk about when it comes to spiritual connection, the connection within ourselves. I just made a post today on Instagram about ascension, that it's not about going upward, it's about going inward inside of us. And it's all here. And just like Shakti, as energy resides here, and all of the dimensions of that in feminine and in masculine energy is all within us in the space of the stillness. But I also want to chat about the embodiment piece, because you've just mentioned it a few times about it doesn't matter the clothing, and although that may bring in a certain expression and a certain energy inside of you so that you can actually feel that for a moment of time, but it's like the embodiment of bringing it into the body and allowing the body to move the energy and expression, right? And we work a lot with embodiment, both you and I, and I'm just the end of December launching, and I roll my eyes on purpose because I'm like, I don't even know how I'm going to fucking do this, but this is like a spirit drop in through yoga one day. Like, we need you to teach embodiment flows. And I went, what do you mean? Like actually at the yoga studio. And I went, what do you mean embodiment flows? And they're like, you'll figure it out. And then literally I was, drinking a coffee with my girlfriend after class, and she says to me, have you ever seen animal flow? And I went, no. So I went to Animal Flow on Instagram, and it's like moves that represent animals. And you've probably seen some masculine energies, like in males, actually do this type of work. And I went, oh, so I'm supposed to take this, and then I'm supposed to take the like feminine embodiment flow of opening up the heart and movement, create an intention, drop them into the intention, slow everything down, and have them, let's say, hold like wild thing, right? So if we think about wild thing and the expression of wild thing in yoga, opening it up and get them to hold it, as then I help them move energy through in the class, through helping them, let's say it's the intention is liberation, helping them to actually be like, where in the body is it stuck? And bringing it out through the body. And now I'm going to be teaching, starting at the end of December, weekly, I'm calling them primal embodiment flow classes, where we're literally going to move this through. And I used to teach aerobics, so like that isn't a big deal. I taught yoga like 20 years ago. I still take yoga 2 to 3 times a week, so I've got a pulse point still in that. Plus I've been doing a lot of embodiment work, and I'm like, okay, so I'm doing these live right here in Costa Rica, right at the Yogashala, where my office now is, my studio, whatever we want to call it, for my healing center. And this is an actual thing of moving energy through the body. So like we've talked about the gender, and if you want to tap on that, amazing, inside of the energy of it. But a lot of Shakti's energy that's moving through you is bringing in a message of how do we move it into us, or how do we move it out of us, right? These, whatever dimension that you're working within throughout the conversation. So I'd love for you to just tap a little bit into this in connection with embodiment, because some people have this distorted viewpoint of what it actually is. So I'd love to find out from you and Shakti what this means inside of that energy. So yeah.
Yeah, I'm going to tap into the one thing that you just mentioned about, like putting on the clothes, right?
Mm-hmm.
And yes, you're right. Clothes give off a certain energy for sure.
Oh,
However,
yeah.
you can put on a zebra skin shirt, but if you don't have it in you to pull it off, you look ridiculous.
Yeah.
You know how some people, like, they can put on, sequins or, leopard skin tight pants, and they rock it. And then the next person tries, and you're like, oh my God, like,
Yeah.
because why? You're not, that's the embodiment.
Yeah.
There's the embodiment. If you want to embody that energy, it has to come from within. Putting on a pair of pants or a dress or whatever it is only a little piece of it.
Yeah. Yeah.
It helps that to be expressed, but the embodiment has to come from within,
Mm-hmm. So true. It's so
right?
true. Yeah.
And it's kind of, again, goes right back into that unity. So the clothes can be a part of it, but it has to come from within.
Yeah.
So there's this little duality that's playing again within that field of the bringing more unity into it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I love, and it's so true. Like I just did a photo shoot, literally last week. Yeah. Like a week ago today, on the beach in Costa Rica. So I found a photographer that actually sees me. So sees past my human form and sees my energy, even though she wouldn't tell you that, because I don't even know if she knows that this is the work she does. But when she took photos of me the first time, I was like, holy fuck, like she sees me. So we went to the beach this time around, and I'm wearing, like, one of the outfits I'm wearing is this long dress. And I was called on the Monday, the day before, to go find a dress. And they're like, you need to go here. Then I walked up and I saw the white version outside, and I went, I need this in black. And I found it in black, and I put it on. Literally, I didn't even try it on, right? I put it right on the beach. And I went, holy fuck. And it has straps that come up, and then you can tie it, twist it, move it. You can have 100 dresses right from it. And there was this drop in that came into my field that was like, you need to untie the straps and just have them loosely down and have them hanging, and have the dress pulled down into this water. Like there was a pool of, like, the ocean in this part, and you just need to, like, embody. And I'll send you the picture, Natasha, after, and you're going to totally get and understand what I'm saying to you. And it's like Isis was on the beach that day. And the first shoot we did was me embodying me. But this next shoot is like the priestess energy of Isis that moved through me. And you cannot make this shit up of being able to embody it. I wouldn't have been able to pull off these photos if I already didn't have her in me and be connected to that power of who she is. And yeah, I've got Egyptian tattoos. Like she told me one day, I need my knot on your wrist. And I literally have, like, the knot of Isis on my wrist. And this is where the energy comes through in my right. Most people are opposing. I'm not. My right hand is where the energy comes through. So she's like, I want all the energy going through the knot. And I went, okay, I'm listening, right? But it's like, and I play out in different fields than most people are, but I have embodied Isis. She is me as I am her, and I can step into her energy at any time. And she's talking to me right now going, yeah, so you know all the struggles that you're going through right now? Like, why don't you fucking get over it and just embody me? Because we know we can move through this real quick. And I'm like, chill out. I'm gonna have a session with you in a bit. Like literally this is happening right now in my mind that's going on in this space of time. But it's like I wouldn't be able to show you this dimension to me and have you feel it coming through me if I wasn't already it, right? If I do the work, if I haven't done all the deep rooted work. Osiris and I have spent numerous nights together throughout the beginning part of 2023. And if you guys don't know the story of Osiris, you guys can go check it out. But basically, Isis's twin flame, he technically died. She brought him back to life. He is the keeper of the underworld in, the Egyptian lineage side. And he does uprooting energy through earth. And you fucking uprooted some really amazing shit in February and March of this past year, right? And it's like stepping into this energy and trusting. So like Natasha says, like she works with Shakti and all the dimensions of Shakti and this energy moving through Shakti and the embodiment. And every single month in the House of Shakti, she is literally embodying, bringing into the field and activating through a certain part of her deity realm, let's call it, of a certain energy. And like she had already said about who she's working with this month inside the house of December, it's like allowing us to activate through these energies. Is that true? Let's just ask you that.
Yeah, and you're absolutely right. So each month I pick a different energetics of the goddesses to work with. And each goddess within has the light and the shadow. Each goddess within has the light and the dark.
Yeah.
Each goddess has this energy to be able to move us through to, again, bring us to this place where we can bring in the alchemy of transcending to, again, I keep coming back to this, transcending to self. And part of that is recognizing the duality. Part of that is acknowledging the duality. And the more we can bring these facets together, the more we can bring into this unity of who we are.
Right. Yes.
And the embodiment comes in because it's about getting into the body with it, so that it's not just like, oh, I'm going to change my mindset about this, but it's about really being present with it, being it. Embodiment for me is like, if you're taking a yoga pose, you become tree pose. Right. You become that. That's the embodiment of it. With the goddesses, you become that courage. You become that love or generosity. You become the abundance. This month, like I said, we're working with Bhuvanishvini, and this is all about this infinite spaciousness. It's all about the creative potential and almost this void that allows moving and non-moving all to exist at the same time. It's almost like this void of everything and nothing.
Yeah.
And I know it sounds kind of like that makes no sense to me, right? Like, what do you mean everything and nothing? Yeah. But that's where all this unlimited, unimaginable potential possibility resides.
Right. It is.
And it's tapping into that duality, and it's about embodying that. Like, I mean, can you imagine for yourself in this very moment, tapping into this potential of possibility that can even be unimaginable, so limitless? What would you, there's no fear.
Yeah, none.
There's no fear. Yeah. Right? And that is Bhuvanishvini, the great mother, they call her, the great mother.
So cool, right? And the work we do in the house. So for those of you that are interested, obviously in the show notes, we'll have a link. It's a paid offer that Natasha has, and you can join in. She does activations and meditations and channeling, dynamics, teachings through the deity of the month that she's working within. And every single month, there's a new energy that's coming in for an embodiment and for us to pull into the space of. And it's almost like we are being called into these assets and tools of remembering again, because we've done this, whether you're male or female, we've done this in the past in all these different ways. It used to be us, when the golden ages was on earth, and, we used to walk around telepathically communicating and just light language transmitting in the earth, before English was a thing. We'll say, this is who we were. We got up, we did embodiment practices, we reconnected back to the earth, we got into stillness, we grew our own food, we activated that way. And yeah, we've got a lot of technology in the world now, and we've got a lot of assets. Like, we wouldn't be here right now exploring this mechanism without it all. But we've lost touch to this also aspect within ourselves. And some of you guys have been doing the work and you're reconnected back in. And Natasha's mission is to help that through Shaktis and through her practices of remembering this inside of us and bringing it up and taking it on again to be like, oh yeah, that is really me, right? That is who I am. Yeah.
Yeah. And that's, thank you for sharing that. But yes, absolutely, because it comes back down to the essence within us has both masculine and feminine.
Mm-hmm.
It has
Yep.
both. And when we continue to move forward with this acknowledgement of both and how they, I'm going to say, for lack of a better word, play together.
Yeah.
It's this playful dance between Shiva and Shakti. It's that playful dance between the masculine and the feminine.
Mm-hmm.
It's this playful curiosity that continues to move us to this place of evolution.
Right.
And, you know, when you were just speaking about light language and being able to, you know, communicate telepathically and stuff like that, that's all possible
Oh yeah.
again. But it's about bringing
Yeah.
in the essences of both, because you can't
Yep.
have that kind of dimension without
Yeah.
both. You need masculine, feminine.
Yeah. Both are
Like,
necessary.
and it's so interesting. The more I work with this, the more I study it, the more I play with it myself, the more curious I am about this, the more I'm learning that this playful dance between the two of them is this direct line to that place of transcendence, to that place of the golden age again. And we're being called to open the doors to this and just acknowledge it.
Yeah.
Whether you're male or female, you have
You have,
both. Whether you are, you know, gay, lesbian, you have both. Like, don't dismiss the other
yeah.
side.
It's the powerful
And
unity. Yeah. Go ahead. Yeah.
yeah, and the power is holding
Yeah.
both, holding space for both. The the place where we can get to this place of more, to experience and express more freedom, is about connecting to both. It's about connecting to the duality of both, connecting to the duality of the light and the shadow and the dark. It's about connecting to how all of this works together to bring us back as one, because it's all about being
Yeah.
one.
It is.
And when I will say, I'll finish this off, when we do get to that place of recognizing everything in this oneness,
Mm-hmm.
duality sort of starts to fall away.
Mm-hmm.
And then when that duality, and I'm going like, this might never happen in my lifetime, but the duality starts to fall away. And we are right there in this little thing, just like Bhuvanishvini, this moving and non moving, everything and nothing. Like, it just becomes, because it's all one.
Yeah. Well, and so I just recently taught level 3's Akashic Records program, and we talked about destiny gateways. And the last gateway is this exact thing. And, you know, I said to them, my whole body's in goosebumps. Over the weekend, I was like, I hope that I live life in this last gateway for a long time in this human form, that I can see that and be all of that and be one with all of that and whole in all of that, because I think that that's the actual quest. And whether we ever get there, and maybe, like, I obviously don't know this for sure. I haven't tapped in yet, but apparently I'm tapping in right now. But it's like, what if that was the quest of each human? And every time we incarnate, we move further and further in the scale. And then the last life we actually have on earth is in that energy, because how do we come back onto earth in the duality again when we've already transcended it? And I can pretty much guarantee you that most of the lives I know of that I've been on earth, at least 20 of them, I never transcended any of that. You know, like, I'm like, I can think about it. The time I died as a pilot, when I fell off the mountain as the medicine woman, you know, like, I've got, like, when I was a tiger, like, you know, all of these past lives that I know of. And it's like, I feel like in this life, there's a lot of us that are here to help shift humanity that way. And if I can hold a wholeness energy, that energy alone in me is transforming other lives around me and transcending the energy in this community, in the collectives, and those in my field. And those that can't hold it and are not ready are dissipating out of our fields. They're leaving, they're going to other places in the world, they're maneuvering, they're, like, you know, cutting ties and all that bit. But I'm like, and that, I've never tapped into that in the way that I'm tapping in now, channeling that into us. But I'm like, I feel like that's the quest when people will be like, what's your purpose in life? To be whole, period. Like, like, how do I hold this? So I love that. I love that you brought that forward. I really do. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I feel the quest in life is to acknowledge the
Yeah.
duality
Yeah.
and to be able to move through
Mm-hmm.
it to get to that place to transcend to wholeness, to
Yeah.
oneness.
Yeah.
And it's interesting because there are, I think, beings out there that have done
Mm.
this. You think of the enlightened ones,
Yeah.
Jesus. Like, did he not embody both masculine and feminine?
Yes. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
You know, did Buddha, did he, another enlightened being, did he embody
Mm-hmm.
both? Did he look at the duality and become whole from it? Absolutely. Why do we not have Buddha back here on earth?
Yeah.
He's done
Yeah.
his work, right?
You know,
And so that within that duality, and I'm just going to finish off with this gender thing again
bring it.
because I'm on that roll.
Yeah. Bring it.
Because I really, it's not about, this isn't calling anybody out.
No.
You know what? You be you and however you need to be
Yeah.
you. But the message I really want to get out there is that in order to be you, you have to do the work.
Oh, yeah.
And doing the work
Yeah.
means you have to get
Yeah.
real. You have to get real with yourself and acknowledge the duality
Mm-hmm.
within in order to bring the unity back together, to be able to get back to that place of freedom. Because guess what? You're not going to get freedom by doing this and that. It is within that you have to go and step into. And it's hard
Yeah.
work.
Yeah. Yeah.
God, I'm still doing the hard
Yeah.
work and it's never going to end probably. And that's
Yeah.
okay. And that's okay because this is all about bringing more of this. I can't say it enough, to bring more unity out into the world, but it has to start with each one of us as an individual. Unity has to start
Yeah.
within in order for us to bring that out in the world.
Mm-hmm.
If we can't find the unity within ourselves, the unity of working both with the masculine and the feminine, the unity of bringing all the duality in the world, how can we ever expect the unity to be out in the world if we can't do it within
Yeah.
ourselves?
And this is a powerful statement. And my last question formally for you was going to be about exactly what you just said. Like, we're always doing the work. It doesn't mean that you channel Shakti and that you don't hold fear, right? Because you do, and I do, and we all have these emotions that we're moving through inside the space. But it's about, how do we keep dropping in to bring us back into that calibration of truth and remembering that again, and that we're safe and that we're held and that we're in this space. We think sometimes that we have to conform into this matrix of literally this control piece that's playing out in the earth plane, when our job is to transcend that and to come above. And it doesn't mean that we won't be in human form any longer. It means, how do we be all and do both and have all and feel all and be like all of the things in all of the perspectives. And it doesn't mean we diminish the dark. We honor it. It comes up to meet us and we go, hey, what's up, man? Come on in. Just like I sent an email out today that said, don't mind the beeping. My internet's flickering in and out and doing its thing like it does in Costa Rica. Apparently, keep beeping on me. We're gonna go through a beeping phase at this very moment of time. Amazing, super love this. So I choose to live in this country. I remember. I choose to live in this duality of a country. I remember. What was I gonna say? Oh yes, I sent an email out today, literally talking about this. Is about, we chose this body, this personality, and all of its dimensions, every single part of it. The edge and the bitch and the loving, caring, grace, and all of the pieces of who we are. But we've been hiding a lot of them from the world because we haven't gone into ourselves to do the work there either, to hold that unity within ourselves. So how could we expect unity to be outward when we haven't done the work inward? So I really love that you
Exactly.
brought that up. So
Yeah.
we're almost at an hour, which, like, we could talk for fucking ever. I know that for sure. And we could like have these amazing, beautiful conversations about this. But like, what is on, like, if you were to tap in for a second and bring Shakti in, like, what is on her heart to say to humanity today, and how do you want to close this off? And I just feel like I just want to find out what she's edging into the world, we'll say.
Yeah, she just wants to express that loving ourselves means loving all of who we are.
Mm.
That's loving ourselves is about loving the duality, loving the light, the shadow, and the dark. And when we can do that, we can spread that out into the world. Just like when we bring that unity within, we can again bring that unity and share that with the world.
Mm.
When we can once again bring this acknowledgement of the divine feminine and the power that she holds that plays with the masculine. This is going to be where we can come back to our wholeness and to be able to create a world beyond imagine. But it takes each one of us to tap into that and to do the work and to step in and just be in stillness, be with the chaos, be with the ability to adapt and shift and change and move as things come through. It's about embodying the emotions. And when I say embody the emotions, I don't mean getting stuck there.
Yeah.
I mean to actually feel the fear.
Yeah.
And say, okay.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And know that in the background you have the courage and the boldness to go through. Like we all have it within
Mm-hmm.
us. We have it within us if we only listen.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah, it's a powerful place to be in. Like, this is my MO in life, like everything that you've just said is part of a mission of coming through the energy. And I love that we are in parallel energies that way. You voicing through Shakti and the mechanism of that experience, and in different words and in a different grace and in a different space, where I'm over here in the fuck you world, like, let's get our shit together kind of avenue, where you're like, let's hold more love and embody it over here, where I'm going, get your fucking shit in order. Let's go. We got stuff to do. Right. And both are relevant. Right. And both are necessary, and all are necessary in the parts that we don't hold. Each person moving through this, it's a necessary piece in this evolution. And us transcending our own stuff and believing in ourselves is a key dynamic to this mechanism that we're moving through right now. So I really love this. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, I was just going to say, and I mean, I already know you know this, but there is no separation.
Mm-hmm.
There is no separation between ourselves and divinity, between us and this world. The thing is that we are all very connected.
Mm-hmm.
And that's where that unity comes into play. And the more we can tap into that,
Mm-hmm.
the more we can tap into who we are.
Yeah. Such a beautiful, beautiful place, I think, to end this. If people are looking to obviously reach out to you and they have questions maybe about Shakti, we'll share obviously all your links in the show notes. They can reach out to you and DM you, I'm sure, on Instagram, and, have a conversation with you if they're interested in learning about the house. We'll put the links there as well. And it's just really, I want everyone to really feel and remember, like, each of us is here in this quest, on this journey, of moving through our own unity, of understanding that wholeness within us. And whatever makes the most sense for you, my friend, is what makes the most sense for you. And our job is to follow that and to really lean into that space. So yeah, anything else you'd like to say, Natasha, before we hit done recording?
Yeah, just go out there, be playful, be curious, and be you.
Mm-hmm. I love it. And like I always say at the end of every podcast, help us share the word, guys. Like, we can't get this podcast out into the world without your help. So tag us on Instagram if there's something that you learned from this and that it really hit home with you. Tag both of us. We'd love to just hear from you and be connected that way. And send it to a friend, whatever feels aligned inside of that space. And just really grateful, like always, that you guys are here. And we'll meet you guys all in the next phase of life somewhere along the road. Thanks again, Natasha. Hi, right? What do you have to say about all that? We targeted some hot topics in this podcast, and would I have said that that would be a thing that we would talk about before we hit record? No. But Shakti spoke, and we came through in that energy field, and maybe Isis was joining her to be like, let's poke the bear a little bit. But everything that came through was of truth, right? The disassociation that's happening inside of the space of humanity right now is necessary for us to speak on. Because if we don't start to speak into the distortion, we can't clear the distortion if we're running away from it. So, powerful episode. If you feel inclined to connect with Natasha, like I said in the actual episode, all of her links and bio is inside of the show notes. I encourage you guys all to go check out the house. Some powerful stuff is moving through her field in connection with that. The activations alone she does in the house, just phenomenal energy. And if you are really inclined to start to work with Shakti and the dimensions of the goddesses through the Hindu lineage, like this is a calling for you, and this is right here inside of the space. So yeah, I love this. I love it. And like I said in the episode, and I'll say it again, help us share it out, guys. Tag us on Instagram, help us get the word out, allow your friends to hear, see, feel this if they are, being called forward to step into this space. And it's not just about one person any longer. It's about us in unity and community to come together, right? And to own all the parts of us and whatever that looks like. So I love it. I'm grateful again, always, for you guys being here. And we'll see you guys all again in the next episode, apparently. All right. Enjoy the day.